Have you ever wondered why some people move through life entirely alone, yet seem more grounded than those with 1,000 friends? Is isolation a quiet tragedy or a deliberate path to inner mastery? Today, we're decoding the psychology of the friendless through the lens of Stoic philosophy. You'll discover why solitude isn't a void to be filled, but a fortress to be built. Stop fearing the silence and start mastering it. Subscribe now to unlock your inner strength. The world views the person without friends with a mixture of pity and suspicion. Society tells us that popularity is a proxy for worth, and if your phone isn't buzzing, you must be broken. But Stoicism flips this script entirely. To the Stoic, the primary relationship is with the self. Seneca once wrote, "A man is as wretched as he convinces himself that he is." The psychology of those who walk alone often reveals a person who has stopped looking for external mirrors to tell them who they are. Imagine a man named Elias who spent his 20s chasing every party, terrified of a Friday night alone. He had hundreds of friends but felt an echoing hollowness. One day he stopped reaching out. The silence was deafening at first, but in that silence he finally heard his own voice. This is the inner citadel that Marcus Aurelius spoke of, a space where no one can hurt you and no one can define you. People without friends aren't always loners by accident. Many are people who have realized that most social interactions are just a trade of shallow pleasantries that provide no real nourishment for the soul. They choose the vacuum of solitude over the noise of meaningless company because they understand that being alone is a physical state, while being lonely is a psychological failure to be your own companion. This shift in perspective transforms a social deficit into a spiritual surplus. When you don't need the approval of a peer group, you are finally free to act according to your own principles, rather than the shifting whims of a crowd. The second layer of this psychology involves the high cost of low-quality connection. Stoicism teaches us that our time is our most precious resource, the only thing we can never get back. Many who have few friends have developed a hyper-awareness of this. Seneca warned, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you." If you look at the psychology of the solitary person, you often find someone who refuses to settle for utility friendships or pleasure friendships. They aren't interested in people who only want to gossip or complain. Think of a woman who decides to spend her weekends reading philosophy or hiking alone rather than sitting in a bar with people she barely likes. To the outsider, she's friendless. To her, she's an investor, refusing to spend her life force on low-return emotional assets. This selective association is a hallmark of the Stoic mindset. We are the average of the people we spend time with, and if no one around you elevates your character, the Stoic choice is to stand alone. There is a story of a Zen master who was asked why he lived alone on a mountain. He replied, "I am not alone. The mountain is here, the wind is here, and I am finally here." This reflects the psychology of someone who has realized that a crowded room often feels lonelier than a quiet forest. By rejecting superficiality, they make room for a profound connection with existence itself. They understand that most friendships are actually just mutual distractions from the reality of the human condition. When you stop distracting yourself, you start growing. One of the most powerful reasons people lack a traditional social circle is a refusal to participate in the social mirror. Most people build their identity based on how others react to them. If people laugh at their jokes, they are funny. If people admire their car, they are successful. But Epictetus taught that, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Those without friends often have a psychology that has transcended the need for this mirror. They have realized that the opinions of others are indifference, things outside of their control. Imagine a young professional who stops attending networking events because they find the posturing nauseating. They are labeled antisocial, but in reality, they are pro-integrity. They have found a way to derive satisfaction from their own virtuous actions rather than the applause of a group. This creates a terrifying level of freedom. When you don't have friends to impress, you don't have a reputation to protect. You can take risks, speak your truth, and live authentically because you aren't tethered to a social contract that demands conformity. This isn't about being a hermit, it's about being self-contained. The Stoic sage is like a sphere, perfectly balanced and smooth on all sides, needing nothing from the outside to remain whole. This psychological independence is often mistaken for coldness, but it is actually the ultimate form of self-respect. It is the realization that your value is inherent, not granted to you by a social committee. The fourth paragraph explores the concept of autarky, or self-sufficiency. In modern psychology, we talk about attachment styles, but the Stoic aspires to a state where their happiness is not attached to anyone else's presence. This doesn't mean they don't love, it means their love is not a form of neediness. People who don't have friends often master the art of being their own best friend. They treat themselves with the same kindness and rigor they would offer a guest. There's a quote from Epictetus: "No man is free who is not master of himself." When you are friendless, you are forced to master yourself. You have to learn how to soothe your own anxieties, celebrate your own wins, and process your own grief without a support system. This builds a psychological muscle that most people never develop. Consider the story of a sailor who spends months at sea alone. While others might go mad, the person with a stoic internal world finds a rhythm. They realize that the mind is a kingdom. If you find yourself alone, it is an opportunity to cultivate your inner citadel. You become the architect of your own joy. This psychological resilience is what allows a person to stand firm when the world turns against them. If you don't need a friend to tell you that you're doing the right thing, you become unstoppable. You become the captain of your soul, undistracted by the sirens of social validation. The trap of superficial connections is something a solitary person often avoids by instinct. We live in an era of hyperconnection, where we have thousands of followers, but no one to call at 3 a.m. The psychology of the friendless often involves a deep-seated rejection of this digital facade. They would rather have 0 friends than 10 contacts who only know the curated version of their life. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that the people he met would be meddlesome, ungrateful, arrogant, deceitful, envious, and unsocial. Instead of being cynical, he used this to realize that relying on others for stability is a fool's errand. Think of a person who deletes their social media and suddenly finds their friend count drops to 0. Was that person ever truly connected, or were they just part of a digital echo chamber? The solitary person chooses the void over the fake. This choice is a radical act of Stoic will. It's the realization that fewness is not failure. By clearing away the brush of shallow relationships, they allow the sunlight of truth to hit the ground of their life. This allows for a much more honest assessment of one's own character. Without the constant feedback loop of a social group, you are forced to look directly into the sun of your own existence. It is uncomfortable, yes, but it is the only way to see clearly. Solitude serves as a laboratory for character development. When you have no one to talk to, you are forced to talk to yourself. And this is where the Stoic practice of prosouche, or mindfulness, begins. The psychology of those without friends is often characterized by a high degree of self-awareness. They know their triggers, their flaws, and their strengths because they've had the time to observe them without distraction. There is a story of a man who was imprisoned in solitary confinement for years, yet emerged more peaceful than his captors because he used the time to travel inward. While most of us aren't in prison, our social obligations can be a different kind of cell. We spend so much time maintaining our social self that our true self starves. The friendless person has the luxury of time. They can spend hours in contemplation, study, or creative work. This is what the Stoics called living in accordance with nature. Humans are social animals, yes, but we are also rational animals. If our social life prevents us from exercising our reason, it is a hindrance. The solitary person turns their life into a workshop. Every moment of solitude is a chance to practice patience, courage, and wisdom. They don't just pass the time, they use it to forge a soul that is as hard as iron and as clear as glass. Dealing with the outcast label requires the Stoic virtue of amor fati, the love of one's fate. Society may label the solitary person as a loser or a loner, but the Stoic embraces this fate with a smile. They realize that the labels others give them are just sounds in the air. Diogenes the Cynic, a major influence on Stoicism, famously lived in a tub and owned nothing, mocked by everyone. When someone told him, "The people of Sinope condemned you to banishment," he replied, "And I condemn them to stay in Sinope." This is the psychology of the outcast who is actually the only free person in the room. They aren't lonely, they are unbound. If your fate is to walk a solitary path, the Stoic advice is to walk it with your head held high. Do not see your lack of friends as a tragedy, but as a unique assignment from the universe. What can you learn in solitude that you could never learn in a crowd? Perhaps you are meant to develop a level of self-reliance that will one day serve as a beacon for others. By loving your fate, you take the power away from those who would use your isolation against you. You become the master of the narrative. You aren't left out, you are set apart. Finally, the paradox of the Stoic is that by becoming comfortable being alone, they actually become better at being with people. Stoicism doesn't command us to be hermits. It commands us to be cosmopolitans, citizens of the world. The person who doesn't need friends is the only person who can be a true friend. Why? Because they aren't using people to fill a hole in their own soul. They don't need you for status, for entertainment, or for emotional labor. If they choose to spend time with you, it is a genuine choice based on mutual virtue. The psychology of the friendless person who has mastered Stoicism is one of detached engagement. They can enter a room, be kind, be helpful, and be present, and then leave without feeling a sense of loss. They are like a mountain that allows the clouds to pass by without trying to hold on to them. As you finish this, remember that your worth is not a tally of your contacts. It is the quality of your character. Whether you have 1,000 friends or none, your mission remains the same: to live with virtue, to master your mind, and to find peace within. You are enough. You have always been enough. The silence isn't your enemy, it's your sanctuary. Embrace it, and you will find a strength that the world can neither give nor take away.